Hi, welcome to Full Crazy Town, episode 18. All new material. My name is Stephen Cole. I'm the mayor of Full Crazy Town. And there's so much happening. And for a change, there's some hope. Not to say that Trump is the savior or anything, but with all the lies since 2016, uh, there was never any hope. I mean, the Democrats weren't going to say, "Oh, you caught us telling a lie. Sorry, we promise it won't happen." No, never. Double down, triple down, quadruple. Anyway, I started taking notes a week ago. Almost exactly. And the dudes were talking about Vivek Ramaswamy and how he steps away from the Doge coin thing, whatever. Anytime you start talking about crypto or, just, you know, mining crypto coins, what? They're not real. Anyway, Vivek was already being encouraged to leave by Elon. It was Elon and Vivek. And I'm sure Elon's going to keep it going. But the whole process is just doomed to fail when you get so many billionaires with their opinions in one room saying, how they're going to be the masters of the universe. You know, not going to work. Doomed to fail. Too many egos in the room. Criticized by Mel Gibson. More to say about him later. Uh, Full crazy town. Hollywood in LA is comes in a close second to Blue Jean, Oregon. But the first phase of the ceasefire hostage exchange went through, and you never knew if it was going to, or even if phase two or three will, as long as another full crazy town, full crazy country, Israel, is involved. More on Vivek. He was going to run for J.D. Vance's senator seat in Ohio, um, my hometown, Hamilton County, Middletown, Ohio. But the governor nixed him, so Vivek's running for the governor of Ohio. Boy, you want nothing more fun to see than Democrats going at each other's throat for all the wrong reasons. Um, I started writing down some of the controversies of late, and I'm going to talk about this also during I think if my last ad for the book and podcast gets on today's Due Dissidents, I'm talking about how my podcast going forward is really going to focus on some of the differing opinions and controversies. Controversies always. And uh, what dark circles? Anyway, where are we here? Oh yeah, the controversy. So one is like reparations. You've got the RBN guys arguing for, and you have this black activist named Greg Foreman arguing against. He says something should have been done back during Reconstruction. Too late now. Still, things can be done. We get rid of redlining or food deserts or the pollution and poverty and neglect in the inner cities. That's something that could be done for Black people now, whereas trying to track down everybody's history over the last 200 years or whatever, too hard. And too many more controversies. um, and there were some like Glenn Greenwald came on and he was talking about how the DEI scene is shifting now away from quotas for oppressed minorities to a more of a merit based hiring system. And this, of course, opens up all the abuses that existed before affirmative action. That is, a good old boy, good old white boys club, hiring more good old white boys. But that's another topic, another time. uh, so Glenn was asking, are women the weaker sex? And that's how all of these minority questions are posed. The most oppressed minority, the ones that deserve most attention, headlines, donations, sympathy, empathy, blah, blah. So Glenn was saying that that kind of leads to all kinds of questions. Are blacks the weaker race? Are women the weaker sex? Or who's the weakest? And so he looked at how the gays and lesbians over the last 4 to 8 years have been used to promote trans issues, and the trans people were putting out the message that we need to protect the LGBTQs. And they especially wanted to align themselves, the men who transitioned to women were trying to align themselves with the lesbian women, the lesbians. And so that meant that any lesbian who didn't want the um, trans rights activists mostly aligning themselves with the lesbian movement were called TERFs. And I mentioned this before, the trans exclusionary radical feminists. And, again, the culture wars just rage on and on and on. But the woman pastor at the inauguration sure caused a big ruckus, to do. And basically, she was saying, we need illegal immigrants or migrants to clean up our shit and our bedpans. I think she just kind of mentioned industrial waste or messes, or just, clean up in the custodial positions. You just everything clean up. They got to clean up our shit. And let's see now. How did I jump? Well, I kind of jumped back to Greg Foreman and how he quoted Martin Luther King Jr. regarding the color of the skin not being as important as the content of the character. And there's just more to come here, more to come. Anyway, I met a guy, this new narrative, all that other stuff. I met a guy who told me some credible stories about times when God spoke to him and everything worked out great, kind of like serendipity, when, chance things happen that all come together to make some kind of a, I don't know, sweet deal. He went by a trans woman who looked really down, purple hair, kind of bedraggled, bent over on a bench, just looking, hands folded, looking down at the ground. And he started to walk by, but then he said, God spoke to me and said, give that person a hug. Just do it. Don't ask any questions, ask permission, but just, give him a hug. So he did. And the person said that it made him, her, it a new person, that she was going to rely on herself now to make herself a better person, and wasn't going to attach to the movement so much and like lecture and blame and scold everybody for not recognizing her as the most oppressed minority. Anyway, he did give the hug, and the person said she was going to be a different person. So then the guy asked me if I'd ever been spoken to by God, and I had to think 5 or 10 seconds. And I said, the closest thing that I experienced was the first time I ever did LSD, and a couple of learning sessions after that, where I took big doses and just tried to get as much out of as I could. I did some microdosing just recreationally, throwing the frisbee and stuff. But I did take several, maybe a half a dozen pretty good sized trips in the middle 70s. And then the second thing that kind of I think of when I talk about LSD trips is that it's not a recreational drug. Maybe in small doses, but not in the 250 to 300, 400, 500,000 mics. No, 250, 75 is enough to hallucinate. So 250 is plenty. 300, that's a big dose. But then I said I learned the lessons that I learned from my LSD trips to not do heavy doses anymore after about 1976. You know, I'm 26 years old. If you and I don't know, I just learned the lesson. I just applied all those inputs that come in when you're big time tripping. It really challenges you to filter stuff through and try to keep the weird, dangerous stuff at bay. And I think that's where overdosing, flipping out on LSD, uh, super tripping, that can happen. A bad trip, that's what it was called. He's having a bad trip, man. So the point is, it's not a recreational drug. It throws open the doors of perception. Read that book? Great book. The doors of perception. And then the user has to decide which of the 10 trillion per second inputs that are coming in to acknowledge and what to do with them. See, 6 trillion at a time. You got to figure it out, filter it out. Um, It only takes a few good lessons. Like I said, 5, 6, 2, 3 lessons is that's it. That's it. You learn your lesson. Don't think that you can just trip and trip and trip, and you're going to get wiser and wiser and wiser. Like a couple good trips, learn the lesson, move on. Um, let's see. It only takes a few good lessons to get it, unless you're a slow learner. Some people are a little bit thicker. However, the lessons can be so intense, there's also a learn or succumb to madness element about it. Um, anyway, for me, LSD, I learned to trust my gut, trust my intrinsic feelings. And that led me to just a couple years ago to learn about what's known as the second brain, the enteric system, ENTERIC, the enteric nervous system, ENS. And if you haven't heard of it, this is what I call God right here. This is when God has spoken to me, it was through my second brain. It's a biological system, also known as the intrinsic nervous system, one of the three main divisions of the autonomic nervous system, the other being the sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous systems. Those sound mysterious right there. And consists of a mesh like, I've heard it called a bundle also, a mesh like system of neurons that governs the function of the gastrointestinal tract, not just governing the function, because the gastrointestinal tract, that's the gut that everybody says you got to trust your gut. I've got a gut feeling, it doesn't pass the smell test, same kind of thing. Uh, it's capable of acting independently of the sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous systems, although it may be influenced by them. So I said it may be influenced by them, and with those two. Well, I'm not sure if that's all the brain does, but that's the three main divisions of the autonomic nervous system. Anyway, it's called the second brain. On a thing from the gut and tells the hormone now in this place, send ASAP. So these hormones are also a type of enzyme, and enzymes are proteins that act as biological catalysts by accelerating chemical reactions. So then, uh, when we talk about the enteric system, um, it's also known as the intrinsic. Somewhere I wrote that down. I don't see it right now, but intrinsic system, and that means intrinsic means belonging naturally to a system. Naturally, just if it's intrinsic, it just is like hand in glove. So it's like as far as I'm concerned. The soul and the spirit, our connection with God, the universe. So terms like gut reaction, trust your gut, uh, the feeling that you get in the pit of your stomach when something's not quite right. I just can't go ahead with what you're trying to do to get me to invest $1 million into your harebrained scheme. It's also known as, like Spike Lee said, do the right thing. You know, here's this complicated, well, you have to just think this way, and then you'll see that you need to invest. Just boom, it comes down to A or B, brother. A or B, one or two, up or down, black or white. Do the right thing. Trust your gut. So for me, the ENS is the voice of God. I learned to decipher the important inputs and to trust my gut to get the best enzymes and hormones to be a catalyst to success. Harmony. And this is where I always like to use serendipity. I forget exactly what the perfect definition is, but it's something like when seemingly random events come together to form a very pleasing or pleasant outcome. Sometimes like cosmic outcome, like, whoa. Anyway, it comes from Horace Mann's play, 19th century, I guess. The play was called Serendip. So that's where the word serendipity comes from, is Horace Mann's play. And now that I wrote down something, just my race and sex issues versus class issues. And so, like class issues, the way the only time they talk about them is when they use emotional feelings and issues around issues like homelessness, poor people, some immigrants. The homeless, oh, they deserve it. Oh, rugged individualism, that's the way to go. Poor people, I'm well off. I made it. What's wrong with you? And people just don't get it. Some do. Psychiatrists talk about adverse childhood experiences, and there's like a 10 or 12 list of your parents getting divorced, saw your dad hit your mom, things that are when you're a kid, trauma, PTSD. Anyway, so today, when some people believe that you must oppose your enemies, real and perceived, by attacking their words and thoughts, my gut reaction is bullshit. Because feelings aren't so as important as facts. Rational, everyday reality, thumb under the oppressor type fact. Feelings are, well, he made me feel uncomfortable, and it's hate speech, and I don't want to sue him for libel. I just want him to go to jail. That's God telling me all I need to know about society. Most have been duped into the divide and conquer, us versus them narrative. Too bad it's so easy to get people to hate rather than looking for loving solutions, right? Not just words, lips, actual solutions. We should make demands for solutions from the oligarchs. Not just about love versus hate. No, it's about pushing past the obstacles. So it's really like work, not just about preaching or scolding. You got to get out there and really work to get together to find solutions. Instead of focusing on culture wars, your enemies, focus on class enemies, class war enemies. Mel Gibson, he's going to be an ambassador to Hollywood, according to the Trump administration, a special envoy. He's going to root out the anti-MAGA element. And he's been like super right wing, super religious ever since his movie about the God, the Bible, whatever. But he's going to work with Sly Sylvester Stone and Jon Voight. Talk about aging dinosaurs. But they are going to root out about the bias against people of faith. And the solution is going to be tribunals, exposing wokeness, the Christ-hating scumbags. So you had Mike McRae come on Jimmy's show last Monday, I guess this would have been, and was pretending to be Mel Gibson. Boy, I mean, talk about Hollywood and government being here as like bread and circuses, entertainment circuses. We don't get the bread very easily. That's what we're getting, though. We're getting plenty of entertainment, and it's not always fun entertainment. Sometimes it's Diddy, Epstein, et cetera type entertainment. And it is entertaining for some sickos. So that's what? Oh, I know there was also a spot from Misha about own nothing, be happy. She's all dressed up like the bald-headed Dr. Evil Klaus Schwab of the WEF and is singing that song. Pretty funny. Let's see. Now with Jimmy's show, I wrote down, I had this wild guy on, Kurt Weldon. Holy smokes. I thought he was just going to talk about, he's like a former Pennsylvania 7th District representative until 07. He had worked with the Homeland Security, wrote a book, Countdown to Terror, and then became a critic of government with their disaster capitalism, the floods in North Carolina, the fires in California. And as he talked, he just got redder and redder in the face. And he started talking about these, the more he criticized the government, the more harassment he got in the form of, he mentioned an FBI raid, not in his house, but where his son, I think he said this, was killed. I don't know. And he said, my story will be heard, or they'll have to kill me too. I mean, I think he's just telling it like it is. I mean, that's what happens to whistleblowers and people who buck the system. He wants to re-examine, he went on, he wants to re-examine the 9/11 Commission. And I think, what was it, the security clearances were pulled for those 50 or 30 of them. And Fauci's security detail was pulled along with, oh God, who else? I don't know. It isn't becoming more entertaining for the right reasons. All those gates that I mentioned over the last 8 years, that was just lies and propaganda, and really kind of debilitating. The more they doubled and tripled and quadrupled down, the sicker and sicker and sicker I felt. But you see Trump at a press conference, and he's actually cracking jokes. Reporters are laughing. Everybody's having a good time. The guy knows how to read the room. He's a crook, a fraudulent contractor building, a developer, real estate development. He rips everybody off, illegal means, just because he's got lawfare on his side. Yeah, so Kurt Weldon wants to open up some of these old conspiracies, as they were called then. He said one of the main ones that people don't know that right after 9/11, uh, the CIA whisked bin Laden off to Baluchistan near Pakistan border and didn't tell anybody. And so then, of course, right after 9/11, the Taliban, troops, almost immediately, boom, took over the country. Taliban on the retreat, where'd they go? Just into the hills, not far out of sight. And we're there 20 years, 2,500 troops were killed, tens of thousands injured, and all the time CIA knew where bin Laden was, Baluchistan. Disgusting. And this guy, Kurt Weldon, is getting redder and redder as a beet. I thought he was going to have a heart attack right on the spot. Um, eh. Then I'm back on RBN. Nick was talking about Joe Rogan and how he's a beta male now. Everybody always, said, well, Joe brings everybody on, but he brings some really creepy people on and gives them softball questions or no questions at all. And that's being complicit with today's black and white realities. You can't bring a super creep on like Zuckerberg or these other billionaires and not say, what about the plans for world domination? And what about, if you used a 1 millionth of your wealth, you could solve all these problems everywhere. But here he is smiling through interviews with billionaires. Joe's a handmaiden for the billionaires. He's just doing their bidding by being complicit. So Nick says, well, the blue haired college kid protesting the genocide is more of an alpha male than Joe. I like that. Trump will betray his base. This is what we hear from the lefty podcasters over and over. The MAGA minions are just poised to be so disappointed, and not just in Trump for broken promises, but against the other MAGA minions that the Trump propagandists are able to pit against each other. And that's going to be becoming more and more apparent, more and more. I'm not going to speculate because I got other stuff to say. Trump will betray his base. He does things to impress others. He just has superficial displays. It's not really any hard policy yet. I know it's early, but he does a lot of superficial displays. But now the libs are all concerned about Gaza now that it's Trump's genocide, not Joe's anymore. So now that it's Trump, hey, what about you need? And that's why Trump wanted to get this ceasefire hostage exchange going before he was sworn in on last Monday. So, yeah, they're covering Gaza now, so concerned about genocide and fascistic systems. The global ruling elite will pulls rank over the Democrats and Republicans. So the Dem and Repub theater is just that. It's just theater. But we have to keep our eye on the prize takers, the ones that are the ruling elite, the global. Any organization that has global or world, like World Wildlife Fund, they're just full of. Okay, I'm not even going to talk about it. But don't donate to the world with the little panda. Don't do it. The global ruling elite pulls rank over the Democrat and Republicans. Now they're walking back their stated goals in Ukraine. So see how the narrative, boom, Trump gets inaugurated, and now the Democrats say about Ukraine, no, we didn't do it because Putin invaded, even though they spent 3 years, um, 2 years, just tooting that horn. Now it's because I got to read this. It's so convoluted. I mean, they got to say something, right? So anything, the wackier thing that sounds, hey, could that be? Get people thinking about it and not just say, well, we just do what we want to do and fuck you. But now the Dems are walking back their stated goals in Ukraine. Now it's to make NATO stronger. That's the reason 150, 200,000 Ukrainian men mostly have died. The whole flower of that generation between, I don't know what, 25 and 45 maybe. Um, it's to make NATO stronger. That was our goal all along, right? Oh yeah, we just said it in different words. Used to be about the invasion of territory and getting the Donbass region right. Russia took our turn. Not until we get the Donbass right back. No, you ain't gonna get that, and you're not gonna make NATO stronger. Nick likes Red Note. TikTok is banning people, censorship, not a free speech platform. Can't say free Palestine on the TikTok platform. He said China's waking up to American dystopia after decades of propaganda. Nick describes himself as a moderate normie on Red Note. He uses AI to translate into Mandarin. And he's surprised to hear all these mostly young Chinese people say, no, we didn't know things were bad. We didn't know. All we hear is how great America is. So he tells them about the homelessness, the failed inner cities, the poverty, the inequity, migrant policies, everything. He tells them how the COVID crisis split Americans into vaxxed versus unvaxxers. Chinese wonder why we put up with this shit. And the moderate normie wonders the same thing. Nick talks of the credit rating systems. Oh, what's that? Oh, well, you will know all about it one way or the other, brother and sisters. Credit scores and the penalties that result. You get penalized if you check your credit score. You get a lower credit rating. Your credit score goes down if you dare to check it. Man, you talk about silencing of free speech and expression just by checking. And that's part of the own nothing, be happy deal. They'll have everything digitized, everything AI, everything that you do, think, or say will be recorded. And if you go off base a little bit, criticize the government or maybe an important official, you could be arrested, fined, imprisoned, or both. And a robot comes to arrest you and take you off in their little auto driving vehicle. Reinforced. Trump withdraws from the World Health Organization. Again, Gavi is the pro-vax NGO run by, or Big Gates is a big part of this whole new pro-vax NGO. But Trump withdraws from the WHO because they're already planning the next pandemic. That's what Gavi's all about. The next vaccine, the next virus, the next pandemic coming soon, worse than bird flu. So yeah, Gavi and the WHO basically are about the same, and the WHO is run by that what's his name warlord who from Ethiopia that worsened the famine in Tigray. Trump took funds from the WHO and gave them to Gates. So that was the last time. And, there's no reason to think that he's not going to do the same. He'll be all in for AI and Musk and letting them program it as long as, the billionaire oligarchs are okay. And, you know, they've guaranteed, you're safe as long as we're in charge and you're doing what we tell you to do. Kurt Metzger was said, people talk about discrimination, but it is discrimination for minorities to demand special rights over others. We want you to discriminate in our favor, not in the other's favor. So Kurt just kind of pointed out, how ridiculous these last 10 or 20 years. I mean, it all started with Obama and you're like, oh, black men, black people, LGBTQ, the depressed, oppressed minorities. Steph just kind of mentions that about 200,000 missing border kids. And anytime you start talking about, oh, God, really the foster kids who go missing and the border kids and the kids and the white slavery and the trafficking and the ritual sacrifice. Hate to talk about it, but it's happening. It's true. And I can't really talk too much about it. I'm just thinking YouTube would slam me. I don't want to be slammed. So if you tell me if I'm getting close to getting another strike, and I'll back off. But Kurt says, there's a million stories just about like that, and he spouts off on them pretty quick. He's and often he's really good. And then usually after Kurt says, a few of these things, Jimmy will come on and say, and chaos favors the establishment. Then on Due Dissidence on the 23rd, they were talking about the HB 1. Oh, it's called House Bill 1 is a House bill, but they were talking about the H1B visa for for cheap labor. Trump's executive action, and here he goes. He started off with stuff like federal workers can't work from home, and why? The Russ and Keaton both like. What is like with all the problems people have, economic and all, and going crazy because of all the lies and deception and poverty. Why is somebody worried? Like, hey, I don't want that guy over there, my neighbor, working from home. I want them to get in their car and drive for an hour each way to and from and be accountable to the boss. Why would somebody say that? Mein Gott. It's part of the divide and conquer strategy, the resentment between the workers, not toward the worldwide ruling elite. Also known as the cool kids. Everybody wants to have a seat at the table, the cool kids' lunch table. Executive order, again, DEI. You had Ibram X. Kendi say the only remedy to past discrimination is present discrimination. And then the only remedy for present discrimination is future. What? Ibram X. Kendi defines what it means to be an anti-racist. Only he can say. Also, Robin DiAngelo says all whites are racist. And other people have said that. Matt Walsh counters with his movie, Am I a Racist? Which, counters all this stuff. He's really good about pushback. He was talking with some trans rights activists about what it means to be a woman. And she came back at him after, getting cornered a couple times and like, are you sure you're a man? And he, or was or do you know what? Oh, he said, "What makes you a woman?" And she came back with, "What makes you a man?" He goes, "I don't know, because I have a dick." Anyway, you have the Smithsonian Institute with a new display um, on white culture. This has been up for a couple years. White culture is defined as being part of a working hard nuclear family, being on time, and everybody, the rugged individuals, pulling themselves by their own boots. White culture, bootstrap, don't depend on the neighbor or the friend or the tribe. It really sounds like total control to me. Peak woke. This was about 2020. D'Angelo tells us what racism is. Smithsonian describes white culture, which sounds like the textbook definition of racism just a few years ago, decades ago. As David Duke might have said, white culture, yeah, white pride. Forget all these rainbow flags. Another divide and conquer strategy. Boy, there's a million of them. From a woke CIA agent. Remember that one where the woke came on and said, "I am intersectional, multi-skilled, a cisgendered millennial with a mood disorder. I work for the CIA." And she just goes on and all this gobbledygook and what the hell. Uh, Glenn Greenwald makes a comment about this spot, and he says, he laments the loss of hilarious videos now that DEI is being dropped. It's going slow. Um, there's other places that are doubling and tripling down, including my daughter's favorite supermarket, Costco. She says they're doubling down on their DEI, even though it was federal. I don't want to talk about it. Ah, now the DEI is being dropped. If ever a political power asked to be thrown out of power, this is it, said Russell Dobler. The whole Democrat, paired up with the LGBTQIA plus. And they're asking, and Russ goes on and talks about it. So I don't want to do too much ad libbing. He's a really good person at helping us understand how it happened, why it happened, and what we can expect now. He does a great job. Trump ordered DEI offices to be shut down next week. Russ says evidence proves that DEI trainings, conferences, and workshops actually increase workplace tension. So you get people like Robin DiAngelo coming in, "All you white people are racist." Yeah. Of course, the tensions are going to go up. Keaton, it's a way for businesses to say they did everything they could to avoid conflict. She cost $30,000. That's all we can do to try to solve the race and sex or gender, LGBTQ problem, the resentment, the arguments, the accusations, the scolding. We've done everything we can. Yeah, you exacerbated the problem. The anti DEI narrative goes uh, describing hard work. I got the cat got on here and ripped my page, and I tried to tape it back. I don't know. Let's see what happens. Describing hard work, individual achievement as being part of the white culture. So that's the what the anti DEI narrative. I'm not quite sure how the white culture. I mean, it does the white culture is all about white culture. It doesn't really take into effect the they're presenting themselves as the most oppressed minority, and like so they don't race, sex, gender, LGBT, no comment. Robin DiAngelo has comments, though, to define this conversation. You're going to generate a backlash that's going to wipe out the DEI industrial complex. This is what I said in my book, is that the TRAs, the rights activists, just seem to introduce wackier and wackier ideas, harder and harder to accept, that they were just presenting like, because we're at the top of the pyramid of influential power, you have to do what we say. No, we don't. No. Keaton said, if you look at this as equity being rolled back, like affirmative action, it all comes down to an unwillingness to confront capitalism. Now that's worth repeating, because I had to actually stop it and go back and listen again once it came out on video. But he said, if you look at this as equity being rolled back like affirmative action, it all comes down to the woke snowflakes, their unwillingness to confront the excesses of capitalism. They just bought in. They just turn off your mind, relax, and float downstream. Do what we tell you. Everything's fine. So capitalism and equity are not compatible. DEI hit the wall of capitalism. They had to escalate their woke rhetoric into the realm of the absurd, also known as full crazy town. So that's what I mean by wackier and wackier. There was no one else to carry their momentum, nowhere else to carry their momentum. Once they got to the top of the pyramid, and all these wackadoo, yeah, kids can decide, kids get surgery, kids get hormone, don't tell the parents. You see, wackier and wackier, that they sowed the seeds of their own demise. And it couldn't have happened soon enough. And it's been fun to watch. So DEI is actually a tool of capitalism, that these rights activists were used to cancel critics, stifle free press. The DEI/CIA agents were bragging about their wokeness, and that does not empower the workers against management. See, it's just it's like workers against workers. This diverse group versus that diverse group, all stoked by the CIA, FBI. It was a massive PR campaign to make agencies, companies like the CIA and Amazon seem user friendly. Yeah, I had all these ex CIA agents on MSNBC and CNN. Here's our regular CIA ex director for this today's comment about today's narratives. Oh, right? Not Russell Dobler or Glenn Greenwald. No. We're going to get these CIA guys. Massive PR campaign, nice and friendly, praiseworthy. Even CIA, Amazon, Facebook, all these billionaires praise them. Anything that divides labor serves management. Full stop. Black or white. A or B, brother, sister. You had Michael Ferrante. How do you function on the left without an economic identity? I guess that was his question. Nowhere else to go. You have to run on DEI, ESG issues. If you're progressive, you have a choice. Should I drift towards economic issues or identity politics? That's the choice. progress, if you drift towards identity politics, progress becomes drag shows for toddlers, wackadoodle projects to create controversies, debates, headlines, donations. Wackier the better, because you don't want to win like the way the gays won with Obama getting gay marriage, because that means you won. Now get off the stage, get off the top of the pyramid, make room for the next most oppressed minority on the pyramid of power, the oppression sweepstakes, as Norm Finkelstein said, also known as the New Weird Order. The social credit system, digitized everything, robots coming to arrest you for thought crimes. Total control, just like MK Ultra's been trying to do with LSD and drugs and hypnosis and psyops ever since the 60s. Sam Altman, others, are all in for AI. Cops won't need guns. If you get a bad social credit score, a robot will come to take you away. Haha. Well, I mentioned to my daughter that a real plus now with the Trump administration being in is that I can go back to simply criticizing the government without somebody wanting to change the subject. You must be a Trump and change the subject. No, well, you wouldn't have said that. I just can't get back to what you want to say. Now I can just criticize the government, and all the shit libs say, yeah. My daughter's a therapist, and she says many of her clients are so depressed they don't see any reason to carry on. They're not suicidal, they just don't want to live in Trump world. I thought the main reaction by the Democrats would be extreme rage, or whoever were lost, I thought would just go full crazy town. And they have, but that means like going crazy, depressed, or mentally crazy, not just acts of violence. And that is true, extreme rage, but there's also the no reason to go on living set, no reason to believe. However, these narratives, and what you're getting, like the work from home, executive action, the DEI, immigration, deportations, the January 6th committees, all of Trump's executive actions, they are more fun to follow than the six gates. I got to say that. Like I said, it just gave me a sick feeling after we went through all these lies and deception and millions dead, or hundreds, thousands dead, and millions migrants and casualties and war refugees. Then Trump gets into the JFK, RFK, MLK assassinations. And I have to read the Fletcher Prouty quote. It's just, it's basically everything that I ever want to talk about ever. The ex-CIA agent, J. Fletcher Prouty, said about JFK's shooting, and here we come. Now Trump said, here comes the real story. Wait, listen what J. Fletcher says. That assassination, JFK's, has demonstrated that most of the major events of world significance are masterfully planned and orchestrated by an elite coterie of enormously powerful people who are not of one nation, not of one ethnic group, or one overridingly important business group. They are a power unto themselves, for whom these others, the nations, the groups, the people, the ethnic people, citizens, for whom these others work. So, like The business group, the billionaires, yeah, they worked for the Illuminati or I don't know, Knights Templar or Freemasons or something. I don't know. Anyway, um, here's the last line of Jay Fletcher's quote. Uh, Neither is the power elite of recent origin. Its roots go deep into the past. And that's what Cat Williams said. He goes on about Illuminati and other secret societies and how they just made their way to where, they all through society, just get more and more of them. We are the brainiacs, the enlightened ones. We want world peace and prosperity for everybody that we say deserves it. Anyway, just like last time, here's what I'm thinking. Big buildup, then a letdown. Remember last time? Uh, Trump had the power to release the documents. What did he do? He released a bunch of redacted files. A nothing burger. Expect the same this time. Or maybe the CIA will be fingered as the ones who killed all these people and more. And they'll just say, well, what are you going to do? Instead of making up some lame excuse like, some wackadoodle thing, they could just, anymore, they're just saying more and more. If you go to the World Economics website, their mission statement is like draconian, a weird, brave new world, 1984. But maybe the CIA will be revealed to be the assassins. Then what? Arrests? Not bloody likely. Tribunals? Maybe. But what will be the results, the consequences? My guess is a major shamey, 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 and then whoop, on to the next. Now that problem is settled. We shamed them. But the rumor is that Trump's main focus is going to be Fortress America. So coming out, let's get out of Ukraine, stop funding the genocide, still let Israel, take over the West Bank and do whatever they want, but no more just indiscriminate bombings of hospitals and refugee camps. Fortress America, Greenland, buy it from Denmark. Canada, influence it, if not make it the first 51st state. Who was the other one then? Panama, right? Get China out of Panama, take their canal. There's more here. So the news, at least now, is somewhat based on reality. Even though it's bad, weird, whatever, at least it's not based on total lies and psyops and propaganda. That's a good thing. So, and then there's the kind of real thing. Like Trump says he's going to deport all of the immigrants who were brought out of the Venezuelan prisons. But what do you want to bet? Those people are going to stay in the inner city, getting housing that they kick the vets out of the buildings, put them into $5,000 a month debit cards, free health care, and like Cat Williams says, the black and brown people of the inner city see this. Hey, where's our mayor? You don't get it. We're just trying to increase chaos here. Don't you know what's happening? So I guess when Trump starts to deport people, it's going to be working families that have been here for maybe generations, the ones picking the food out in harvesting the crops in California and other places. And 3:59 to be continued. Hey, that's good timing. So stay tuned. Thanks for watching, and see you next time. There was a couple things I wanted to say, but I'm going to zip it as soon as I see 4 o'clock. Give you a chance to take a break. You can go to the bathroom before the 10-minute rock and roll music is done with dudes. Bingo. See ya. Bye.